Hi, welcome to Edward Box Guitar Tuition. So my classic album inspection today is Richie Blackmore's Rainbow's debut album, released September the 5th, 1975, so it's 50 years old today. So originally this was a Blackmore solo single idea. He recorded his cover of Black Sheep of the Family, the song by Quatermass. I think Mick Underwood used to play drums for them, for Gillan. And then he did his new composition, I think it was 16th Century Greensleeves, and he did it with the members of Elf, and things developed and they ended up doing more tracks and going to Musicland studios in Germany and so on. So what's this album like? The first thing is to sort of say is that it kind of fairly firmly establishes what the Rainbow Blueprint's going to be. It's going to be bluesy hard rock, but with some other elements, classical elements at times, but also with Dio.'s fantasy lyrics. And there's Man on the Silver Mountain, Catch the Rainbow, Snake Charmer, Temple of the King, 16th Century Greensleeves, all have that quality. All songs were written by Ronnie James Dio and Blackmore, apart from Still I'm Sad, which was an interpretation of the Yardbird song, and of course Black Sheep of the Family, which was just written by a guy called Steve Hammond. So obviously the opening album, Man on the Silver Mountain, I think absolute classic. Dio still gets called the Man on the Silver Mountain. It's kind of more associated with Dio than it is Blackmore in a way. I think what's interesting about this is how slow this song is when you actually hear the original bum 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 bum. You know, they always played it faster live, and how little distortion there is. Maybe Blackmore's playing with his fingers. This is quite a polite sounding record. It has none of the kind of power and majesty of what came after. But obviously what Blackmore would do, he would basically use Elf and then get rid of them and keep Ronnie James Dio and then get in the crack squad for Rising. So the playing on this album's perfectly good, but it kind of lacks that extra dimension. Like Elf were a solid band, but there was only one outstanding member, and that's Ronnie. And the other thing is with this album, Ronnie starts to sing in a higher register. He's kind of going for the more Paul Rodgers covered Elf thing in the Elf days, but he starts pushing up into those higher notes, and of course because he's got a deep voice, it doesn't feel like he's singing high, and that's really when he breaks into the register of vocals that will be synonymous with heavy metal that Rob Halford's doing as well, and hard rock singers like Bon Scott and so on, and the rest is history. Self-Portrait's next. This is in 3/4 time, so it's in a waltz time, so that's interesting. That differentiates it from most rock music. I think it's a really good track, 3 minutes 17. I like it. Then you got Black Sheep of the Family. Sometimes this gets slagged while I do a cover, but it is a good track and it kind of suits Dio's vocal. It's more like what he'd be doing in Elf. It's more like what Blackmore might do with elements of Purple, but it's got that catchy element. These kind of tracks work on Rainbow albums. I don't know about you, I love Do You Close Your Eyes. I think that's a great track, and things like The Shed and so on. So when Rainbow with Dio just kind of do something a bit more frivolous, slightly more throwaway. And then the next track, Catch a Rainbow, is a really beautiful track. I think listening to it just before, I was caught by how much the chord progression's kind of like Little Wing. Beautiful slide guitar on this by Richie Blackmore. Beautiful ethereal atmosphere. Very soft and mellow. A little tale about this. The first holiday I ever went to Greece and ever took with my now wife, we went to Hossonossos in Greece, and we were lying on the beach down by a cafe and we were playing music, and then this came on. I'm like, oh, that sounds like Dio. And I was listening to the lyrics and I realised, oh, this must be a song called Catch a Rainbow. I've got to confess, I never heard the Richie Blackmore's Rainbow album. It was just, at the time when I was very young, we had the Rising album. I heard that loads of times and I like back of my hand. We didn't get along with rock and roll late. I didn't check that out. We never had Richie Blackmore's Rainbow, so I came with those albums later. Pretty sacrilege, but it's fun coming to albums like 20 years ago, 30 years ago instead of 40. So Catch a Rainbow's a classic, that, and Man on the Silver Mountain, absolutely. Next up, Snake Charmer. I think it's a decent sort of filler track, nice groove. Richie and Ronnie in fine form, and then Temple of the King. This is the other kind of hidden classic, really. The Scorpions did a lovely cover of this. on the Dio tribute album, and I think that showed the real quality of the song. Really like the lyrics on this. This one maybe more than any other track on the album really captures that kind of fantasy thing. Yeah, some great guitar. Next track, If You Don't Like Rock and Roll, this is probably the track the album could maybe do without. It's just a straight ahead rocker, 2 minutes 38, If You Don't Like Rock and Roll. You know, this album's 36:54, so it'd be 34 minutes and 8 tracks. I don't mind it. I'm not going to mind anything where Richie Blackmore and Dio are playing, but you know, it just doesn't add anything. 16th Century Greensleeves, this is a great track. So this has got a cool stomp, almost like Gypsy Bike Uriah, bam, 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 but lighter. Really cool lyrics, you know, about locking in a tower and stuff like that. And again, capturing that, I suppose, medieval thing, Arthurian thing that Blackmore's beloved of, and he explores with Blackmore's Nights, 3 minutes 31. Cool lead break on this by Richie, doing some nice open string pull-offs. Then you got Still I'm Sad. This is really good. Good groove on this. I think the rhythm section sort of comes to the fore. What's that purple track off Burn? It's like You Fool No One. It's that groove actually, I think. So Martin Birch does a good job. It's just the production's too polite on this. It's a bit light. I think if we're honest, it's fair to say those Rainbow albums, they have amazing ideas in terms of production. And they can have some powerful drums. Sometimes all that sound, it hasn't quite captured onto tape. I remember I read criticisms of the production of Rainbow Rising by one writer, and then when I listened to it, I could see their point. Maybe they're wrong with rock and roll albums, better sounding, but you know, have Rainbow ever made like a great sounding record? Even like Difficult to Cure that. It sounds like Rainbow. I don't know if they ever fully captured stuff, but you know, when you've got the sound of the vocals and guitars and the lyrical content and so on. So I think this is a really good fledgling album. It's not a classic, but it has some classic tracks and classic elements. I think 1, 2, 2.6, 3.6, 4.2, 5.2, 6.2, 7.2. I think I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Maybe knock half a mark off for it being a bit light. But it's definitely a key album, you know, and Blackmore's just on that fantastic run. And I think he doesn't get enough respect for like his great compositional skills on In Rock, Machine Head, Burn, some great stuff on Stormbringer as well. And then he does this album, and of course it's Rising, a masterpiece. Long Live Rock and Roll, a great cover follow-up, and good songs after that. So really deserving more respect, you know, the kind of respect that guys like Jimmy Page get for their, you know, writing skills. So yeah, an essential album. This is the album that introduces Dio properly. It's interesting. It's that thing again where Dio doesn't arrive fully formed. He goes back to the late 1950s. He's singing rock and roll. He's doing crooner stuff. Then he's kind of developing that more poppy. Then he gets a bit more heavier with a bit of Hendrix. Then they're doing a sort of country rock, free type thing with Elf. They're getting respect on stage for the live performance, but he's still not there. It's not until he releases his album, which when it's recorded is 20th of February to 14th of March 1975. So like a lot of albums in that time, probably recorded over a 3-week period and mixed. You know, he's 32 then, he's 33 when it comes out. But really, it's Rising the next year, where it's like, fucking hell, this guy's the GOAT. But it takes him a while to, well, he wasn't seen as a GOAT then, but it takes him a while to arrive at that. Then it gets even better with Heaven and Hell, when he starts to do metal and then his own music. So it's an interesting story. You know, there's that classic phrase, Rome wasn't built in a day. Ronnie James Dio wasn't built in a day. He was built over a long period of time, over many years, and somehow he arrived at this style and managed to get his vocals into that upper register, but with that richness, and it was a sound like no other. Okay, so Richie Blackmore's Rainbow, 50 years old today. Remember, share and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers.